Hi friends, Lainey here with a little update on where I'm at in my writing journey. I did a writing sprint earlier today and I've been working on book stuff ever since then. A lot of organization. I decided on where I was gonna document certain things that didn't quite work in the Plotter app, and just to help me organize my thoughts. Things are getting really thick right now, very deep, because I'm really plotting 5 books. So there's a lot going on. Plotter wasn't quite working for me to a certain extent. First, I started in Excel and then I moved it into SmartSuite instead. And so I'm actually really liking what that's looking like from a user perspective on how to enter the information and different ways to view it versus Excel was just one dimensional. So that really helped. And so what I'm going to be doing is the overarching information for each book I'm going to keep in my SmartSuite, and then the details where I get into more scenes, chapters, things like that's going to be where Plotter comes in handy, because that's going to be much more detailed. So that is what I've been working on. And the reason I got into that from an organizational perspective is because what I've been working on recently is consequences, which I think I talked about on my last video, and bad guy stuff. So I'm continuing that, and I think I said that this might take a while, so my videos might get a little boring, except for me, for posterity. And it's happening. Where I'm at is really thinking about where the bad guys are at, because again, there are no bad guys in the very, very beginning. Then the trigger event happens, and then they come into existence, and figuring out in each book, what are their actions going to look like? How is that going to escalate? And so I went back into that to make sure that I had this idea of what it was going to be like, because it's going to escalate, and then at some point it has to de-escalate, because we have to save the world, guys. We do. We have to save the world. And so the bad guys need to have some sort of resolution or something that they do or think or whatever that makes them go, aha, we are the bad guys. Whoops. So I need to figure out what that's going to look like. Book 5, I think, is going to be the most difficult, because I have to decide what this resolution is going to look like. And so I'm organizing what's going to happen and what that escalation and hopefully de-escalation is going to look like across the 5 books. And I'm making sure that it is matching against what else I've already decided about happening in the world across the 5 books. I want to make sure that as the sickness is escalating and hopefully de-escalating, that's matching to a certain extent the escalation and de-escalation of the bad guy stuff. And so I'm working on that. And also I renamed one of my main characters. So that's fun, because, and this is one of the reasons why you don't want to have your information in too many places as far as multiple like applications or whatever. So right now I have a Word document, which is where I plop stuff when I'm making decisions. And now I'm gonna build into SmartSuite for big stuff, so I can have a visual of the big stuff. And then I have Plotter for those littler details. And then eventually, when I'm really getting deeper into the writing, I'm going to move that from Word into Scrivener. So hopefully eventually I'm all out of Word. And I'm trying to delete things from Word as I'm putting it into these other places, so that there's one source of truth for anything. So it's not in Word and Plotter or Word and SmartSuite. So that's what I've been working on, is making sure that everything is matching and aligning from a plot perspective, from an organization perspective. I also named the world. I'm not going to say what it is, because there's a chance I'll change my mind, but right now I like it. So that was nice, because since I know that the world is ending, I should have a name for the world. That was the other thing that I decided, is from a geographical perspective, what is the escalation? So it starts off in this village, and then it ripples into this region, and then it's going to continue to escalate until it is affecting the whole world. And so hence the world ending concept. So not a lot of progress from what you're hearing, but things are feeling good on my end, because I'm organized, and because, again, I'm making sure that things make sense. I'm very logical, very organized, as you can tell. So I want to make sure that everything's matching up. And I think the biggest thing that I'm going to be stumbling on is the final resolution. And I really need to figure out what that is. It's starting to shape a little bit. I have two kind of ideas on what that's going to look and feel like, and they're definitely different. So I have to figure out which direction that's going to go, because I have a feeling that the storyline, as it develops, I would need to make sure that I'm leading into whatever that resolution is. So I'm laying things so that final resolution makes sense. And you probably don't know exactly what that means as much as I know what that means, because you don't know what the story is exactly. But I am getting closer to having kind of the final plot ironed out in my head and for each book. And so I think the closer I get to really having that nailed down, especially once I know what that resolution is, I'm going to be much better, and it's going to be much more exciting as I share in social and here in the journal the specifics of where I'm going, without giving away everything, because you gotta read the books, guys. But I think I won't be talking in generalities as much and being so veiled, because I will have made some decisions that I will get better at sharing, if that makes sense. So I thought this was going to be a short one, because I was like, oh, there's not much to update, but here I am, right? Oh, and the last thing, so I had this revelation on the backstory of one of the characters, and it's going to be pivotal in a lot of the story. You won't necessarily know it until maybe the end, but what's fun is that it might open things up for a prequel, and it might open things up for a continuation of the series. And it was a really cool revelation for this backstory. And again, I think it's going to have a lot to do with the resolution at the end of book 5. Seriously, like massively critical. So that was cool. I can't believe I almost didn't say that part. Thank you so much for joining. As always, I do appreciate it. Anybody who's actually watching, maybe this is like 10 years from now, and people who love the series are like, oh my God, let's see the beginning of this story. And you're probably like, who is this girl? All right, for real. I'll see you next time. Thank you so much for joining. I do appreciate it, and we'll see you next time. Bye.